Today on the Failing Up podcast, we have a conversation with Phil Kingsley, CEO of the Huffaker Group, discussing the theme of learning from failure. Phil shares insights into how failure can be viewed as an opportunity for growth and emphasizes the importance of setting ambitious goals to achieve personal potential. Together, they explore strategies for coaching others to embrace failure as a stepping stone towards success. Let's jump in.
All right, welcome to Season 2 of the Failing Up podcast, Humble Lessons in Life and Business. I'm here with our amazing co-host, Bethany Voice. Bethany, welcome.
Thanks so much. Excited to be here.
Excited to be here. And our guest, Phil Kingsley.
Hello, everybody.
What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm awesome. Thanks for having me.
So first episode of Season 2, and was going back and listening at how many times we had to introduce ourselves last season as we sat in a room and recorded these back to back. And so Bethany and I will run out of ways to say hello to each other over the next few hours. As we
I only have to do it once, thank goodness.
Right.
That's right. Only have to do it once. So excited to kick off Season 2. Season 1, great hit, lots of great feedback. Really just for our listeners out there, a chance for us to talk about failure in a way that hopefully helps everyone move forward, helps everyone learn and grow and develop as leaders. So many podcasts out there do a great job of highlighting what people have done well and how they've found successes. Our intention is to really dig in and to understand that we know we succeed through failures, that our failures over time add up to success, and really just unpacking with some really successful people what that looks like. So let's start with you, Phil. Take a minute, introduce yourself, let us know who you are.
Yes, I'm Phil Kingsley. I am the CEO for the Huffaker Group. We're an expansion organization here with Keller Williams Realty out of the Nashville area. We operate in the Southeast, and I'm excited to be here with you all today.
Yeah, you were actually the very first podcast we ever did was you and me and Dr. Taylor.
That's
and
right.
I think we
Yes.
got banned.
That episode never made it to air.
It didn't. The name probably didn't help us, but
Yeah.
It was
Rebranded.
a lot of fun. I've actually listened to it several times. It's one of my favorite episodes as we
That's
kind of
right.
talk through the early failures. And so excited to kick this season off with you because specifically the three of us together. I mean, you two are really my ride or dies when it comes to building business. We get to spend a lot of time together talking about companies and failure, and we've been a decade now. You and I have been
about 10
in some
years.
form or fashion building the Huffaker Group from the start. So let's start with when you think of failure, what does that bring to light for you? What do you think about?
I'd say opportunity. And again, this is not my programming or the way it was prior to joining the Huffaker Group and being in an entrepreneurial role and getting to grow businesses. So initially, I would say my life up to that point, failure was a negative. And now I think the most recent perception for failure for me is I didn't succeed my way here. And I don't want to say I didn't succeed my way to the top because there is no top. We can go where we want to go. But I failed my way to where I am today, wherever that is. And with that in mind, there's a lot of successes that come from the failures. That's my perception.
So give the listeners some perspective. Tell us a little bit about. I know you said before this you kind of saw failure as failure, right? Not as a process. Early on, what was it like as you kind of made that transition? Tell us about the success you have had, right? So we have some perspective on that. What did the Huffaker Group do last year? What is your role in it?
Sure.
Production-wise.
So where were we, Bethany, last year as an expansion organization in the rankings anyway?
Rankings, we were top 15, right?
Top
right
15.
at, we kind of
Okay.
were between 17 and
Sure.
15, yeah.
It's something to be proud of, right?
Yep.
So top 15 in our ecosystem, able to help a lot of agents achieve their own personal financial goals through real estate. Those things are all the shiny things that we love to kind of toss around. And behind the scenes, you don't see what people go through to get there. And I'm no different, but at the same time, I would say this, the main reason for my perception shift is due to the fact that if we continually focus on failure as being a negative, it'll beat you down. And it'll take the joy out of what you do and why you do it. In which case, now the way we pursue failure, and we try to instill this from the top down. You either win or you lose. If we did fail at something, it's an opportunity for us to learn and grow. We are going to take that failure, look backwards only for experience, and then look forwards on how we're going to be better going forward.
Yeah, I was listening to the episode with Mark King, and he was talking about our need to always move the goalpost, right? When you learn to walk, you didn't just stop there, right? Like your mind will always push the goalpost forward, and that can be exhausting. if you're constantly chasing success. And yet if you see failure as part of the journey,
Yes.
right, and the steps that you're taking on who you're becoming, I think that comes with age a little bit, right? The wisdom to understand that, like,
Yes.
this is a process, right? Like, this is
Right.
it's a cute bumper sticker, right? But the journey is the destination.
Very Star Wars of you. I like that.
Right?
I like that. Take me there.
But you specifically have this, like, you coach so many agents in our industry and in our business. How do you help others adopt that mindset?
It's interesting from the inception. If I don't know you or haven't met you and have to build a coaching relationship with you, I have to get to know you. And then I would say it's one of the first things that I want to make sure somebody understands as they fail. Like, so what did you learn? We're okay with that, right? And move forward. So pick it up, learn from it, move on. And again, I want to make sure that our people know as they fail, they're in a safe place to do so, right? So and I think, David, you mentioned it recently, like people who come from a corporate background, failure it's an F word. It's one of the words we don't say, and it's bad if it happens. We want to make sure that our people in our organization understand when they fail, this is a safe place to do so, right? And what do we learn from it? How do we grow from it? How do we move on? So in terms of instilling that globally, I know we do that as in the group settings, and then locally, I get to coach people individually and make sure they understand as failure occurs, growth is the byproduct.
Sure.
Yeah, I've never thought of it this way. Bethany, you think we always push people to set goals that seem somewhat unreachable. Do we do that in an effort to make failure okay, right? Because it's almost like if you hit your goal in our world, that's
Maybe
rare,
it wasn't,
right?
wasn't
okay,
high
we didn't
enough,
set it
yeah.
big enough if you hit it. And that can come with a lot of pain, right? And it can
Right.
come with a lot of perception and I'm not good enough. And so there's a lot of moving parts to that. But do you think that people set goals almost too high in an effort to cause failure?
It's funny you say that. I think we've been having that conversation this week in particular in some of our businesses. And I don't think it's on purpose, because I think if it was, it's that constant disappointment. Like, we also know the inverse is if I never hit the goal, then I'm just dissatisfied. I feel like I can't win. You start to ask those internal questions. Is it me? Am I good enough? And you can really go down another rabbit hole of failure. I think it's in our organizations, it's been a culture around how do we help people become their best version of themselves. So those goals don't stop with just their business goals, but their life goals, their fitness goals, their family goals. And we're having a conversation around that. And then they're surrounded by a culture that really encourages them to stretch, which is highly uncomfortable. I think if they were constantly not reaching them, but we know in our world they do reach them. And Phil, you said something that I thought was, interesting. If you have this mindset around failure where it's constantly a bad thing, it kind of steals all the joy around what you're doing.
You miss the journey.
Right. And sometimes that can be a cute bumper sticker. It sounds really great, but I also think we could all be honest about the times where failure doesn't feel amazing and we struggle with that. Sure. And having to, as leaders, change the culture and be able to speak to your people and your organizations, even when maybe you don't feel amazing about. Like, we've all smacked our face on the concrete a couple times, maybe more than a couple times.
Us figuratively.
Right, yeah,
Literally.
yeah, me literally, right?
Literally. You guys
I'm
can't
not gonna let
see
you
us.
live that down.
Yeah, no. You get in one scooter accident and no one stops talking about it.
And I think there's two things to unpack from that. I think
Yeah.
number one, and again, luckily you guys hopefully are only listening. You don't have to look at me. But I was a school teacher, so I did impact our youth for a short period of time. And one of the banners that I had in my classroom was in terms of the goal setting, right? It was, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you land among the stars, right? So I think when it comes to goal setting, okay,
I remember that one.
I do, too, yeah.
Second grade. That was in my classroom. But yeah, so you look at that and you say, okay, in terms of goals, I didn't make 150,000. I did make 100,000, and it's had this positive impact on my company. I've never made $100,000 in a 12-month period. So even when you miss the goal, we can step back away from that and say, well, what good came from it, right? Mm-hmm. And then I would also say, in terms of stretching and coaching individually people to their goals, my mission statement for coaching is to help those achieve their own individual potential. Mm-hmm. And that's different for everybody. So, Bethany, your goals and your potential, whatever you want to be and you want to achieve, is different than what David's does. So in which case, that's what I coach to. It's what they want to achieve, and it is getting them to their potential. And I would say that stemmed from me coaching competitive gymnastics. Same with children.
That
right?
leads to the difference between managing and leading, right? Managing, you manage to the same set of standards every time, regardless of the human.
Yes.
In leadership, you're able to see the human for who they are. Two of the tools or hacks that we've kind of created that I think can be useful for people. Number one is a dartboard doesn't just have the center dot, right? Like it has all of these triples and doubles around it, all these numbers. And we've learned to set goals based off of almost a sliding target, right? Like you have the stretch goal, you have 80%, then you have below 80%, or stretch goal standard and 80% of standard. And I feel like that gives us some leeway there, right? As we're trying to hit targets or as we're trying to grow, it's not just this static one number, because that you can only hit or miss, right? Versus having the dartboard, you can land different places, and that's okay. So I'd say if you're setting goals for yourself, or you're building a company or developing, having that sliding scale of opportunity to where you land amongst that, knowing that, like, okay, if I hit between 80% of standard and standard, that's okay, right? Standard and stretch goal is awesome. If I hit the stretch goal, wow, like that would just be fireworks and amazing. The second thing you said, Bethany, was that as you become deeper entrenched in leading others, you have to learn some tools to help you through, because the more you get in business with humans, the harder every day becomes in terms of helping people through failure, right? And taking hits and dealing with the day in and day out. We talk about, I thought leadership meant I get to see my name in lights and everybody celebrated me and I get to be on stage and I get to tell my story. What I found out was that leadership was dealing with everyone else's problems and not putting your problems on them and being able to receive those and help them navigate, which takes a ton of energy, right? And so as you're doing that, as you grow with people, what have you found ways like keep your mind right, keep you in the positive?
Yeah, and I think it's the opportunity presented before me, right? I think, and every morning at 8 a.m., I don't get to be down, right? There is no off days, there is no mail it in days. And I always perceive it as an opportunity for me to impact others, whether they're going to receive it or not. I'll control what I can control. But I do perceive the opportunity to have to show up to a coaching call, and you can't mail it. You just can't, right? I mean, it's too important on behalf of the people and the goals that they've championed us with. So even if I am tired, stressed, worried, whatever, I set it all aside and just make sure that I'm focusing on this person. And if they do have failures, then again, there's a lot that goes into understanding that person and how to interact with that person, considering the failure and how do they want to receive information. So there's a lot to it, but that's also why you got to show up. You can't mail it in. And the way that I stay fresh, I guess, and I'm not perfect, just to be clear, but the way I stay fresh is that I perceive it as an opportunity to impact somebody and help them achieve their potential, and that's why I'm here right now. Yeah,
the coolest thing about leadership is knowing that you don't always have to have the answers, but you have to have some great questions, right? And if I can think through that, so those are the times where, like, if I feel like I have to show up on every conversation, every coaching call with the right answer for someone, again, that's to me, that's the shortcut versus not having the answer and being willing to just ask the questions and just let that conversation see where it might go. You find often most people, if you're leading them, they already know the answer. It's just you helping them self-discover it through asking good questions and re-asking questions, because a lot of times the first answer is the superficial, surface-level answer, right? So thinking back over the last decade, whatever, of your life, few years, is there somewhere where you saw like a failure happen and you're like, oh, this is it, right? Ship's going down. And then now being able to reflect back on it after 2 or 3 or 4 years, seeing that actually led you down a path that produced greater results or developed you more as a human or something along those lines?
It's funny. I think that both of you probably have those in mind for me.
But we really brought you here.
I did bring a file folder if you want to choose from this.
Got a book that's probably really tall off the table. I cannot think of any one failure that would characterize, what has gotten me here. I would say it is a collection of the failures, and I am trying to think of something specifically, but I would also say this: any failure that we've had has led us here today.
Yeah, so I think that's the point, right?
Yeah, that's the point. So, and I don't want to brush off the question. I can't think of anything. I mean, you probably can. Give me one. What did I screw up?
I can always think of.
No.
No, I don't think it's anything particular.
I think this is perfect. I mean, I know not all our listeners will know Phil as well as the three of us all know each other, but so like an authentic view of who you are is the fact that you can't think of one, right? Because Phil has always viewed failure as a path forward. There is this high optimism
it's a
that you carry around, right?
Yes.
That I think influences the culture of the people you lead, right? Because I've never seen you in our relationship and building businesses together really go, oh, this is it. And I tend to be a little bit like a this is it person, like, oh, all right, time to close up shop. Yeah. And then Phil's like, listen, skies are blue. And I'm like, they are not. I don't know where you're at, right?
It depends.
How is it? Is there something you're doing to keep that mindset? Do you feel like you've just always been that person, or has there been something in your life that led you to that mindset that I think really keeps you protected to see the opportunity always around the corner?
I think something maybe everybody could take away is happiness is a choice. It is a cognitive choice. So you can walk through life and circumstances, as a victim or as a pessimist, or be negative about everything that you encounter, or you can choose to be happy regardless of the circumstances you're in. So I know that is also a cute bumper sticker. It's really long.
No, yeah. I love that.
At the same time, I would say something for everyone to consider. If happiness is a choice, is that your choice? And then how do you react due to it, considering, when things are good and bad? And guys, we've been through good and bad times together. When sales were not where they needed to be, it's trickier. Now I get to show who I am to you all, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
But
that's why we have each other.
Exactly right. But not everybody else gets to see it. But there's been some times where things have not been well in terms of my role. And we've got to put a positive spin on it. We've got to move on, take away the best from it, and go succeed, right? So,
yeah, I love the happiness piece. I mean, they always say like happiness is a moment, but joy is a state, right? And our friend Dusty Oglesby, right? I'll never forget. He was telling the Bold Room, like he would talk to his kids, and you get to choose happy, right? Like you get to choose your happy today. Like you get to decide how this is going to impact you. It can impact you for a moment, or it can impact you for the whole day. And yet you get to make that choice. And sometimes, again, we're all human here. And I think that it's important. Like you don't get to control your first thought, but you can control your second, right? So we all get frustrated, right? We all live in this state. And I don't think we talk about it enough. Maybe I talk about it too much anymore, but like the anxiety and the stress and the things that come, us having the tribe of each other, to me, is when people ask, like, how did we have such an amazing culture? It has really been the transparency with each other to be willing to say, like, I'm hurt, right? Or I'm in a tight spot. Or, I mean, I can think of times, 7 years ago, going to lunch with you and going like, I'm just in a tight spot in life, right? And just my, nothing to do with even real estate, right? But just having that for each other and being there, and I always think we take that for granted sometimes in our ecosystem, whether it's the Huffaker Group, whether it's Level 8, whether it's Keller Williams. We've been taught how to create that environment. And you forget people outside don't, right? I mean, there are people hurting that don't have family that support them, right? There are people hurting or in jobs where their boss is a jerk, right? Or their company doesn't necessarily think about their welfare in that regard. And so I would say if you're listening to that and to this, and that's you, know that there are groups out there that will lean into you and love you and support you wherever you're at on your journey, and find your people, because this is, our spiritual journey, making this small human, stop, if you will,
right.
Is lonely if you don't have your people around you, right? Yeah. And it gets, and you can lead into depression and alcoholism and all these things. And so I just want to always encourage anyone that's listening that may be struggling, reach out to someone, find a friend, find a contact that can help pull you out.
And I would say this to the people listening as well, like you may be that person who needs to be creating the safe place. So be aware of that as well. I know we're fortunate to be in a situation where not only, anybody, we're all equal in our organization. Like we couldn't do it without each other, so we get it. But we've been fortunate to create that safe space, either entrepreneurially or purposely. Either way, we did it.
Yeah.
Are you when you're listening to this, are you the person who's supposed to be creating that space, that safe space for others? Sorry, Bethany, go ahead.
No, I think that's, absolutely. I think we've been so blessed to be in the environment. I don't know if prior to this environment I had the same outlook, right? we chat about it all the time. I think, David, you and I had a conversation last week. Like, I now have this mindset of there's not much I can't fix. And so there is no circumstance that doesn't have a solution or a positive outcome. And I've thought a lot about that the last few weeks. And now I'll go, man, I've rewind the clock, though, a good bit of time. And I did not have that. There were so many problems that felt like I could never overcome that mountain. And now and we've had the good, we've had the bad. We can all look up and go, okay, yep, today sucks, right? Today's hard. So what? Now what? We say that a lot to each other.
Love that one.
Of how, okay, great. Well, this is what we've got. So we decide to move the needle forward in our businesses and our lives, and just blessed to have an environment that encourages us to do that, right? And
well, people get stuck in, if you stay in the failure, right? You stay in the broken. That's where it becomes really painful. The only hard part is when you don't have the plan. So as soon as you have a plan, your body and your mind get into action and they start to create solutions. Yeah. And at that point, you've moved on, right? Like it's that fast. A lot of times, honestly, probably when I've struggled the most is when I'm not helping everyone else solve their challenges, right? And so sometimes for me, it's like, okay, get out of your space. Like, that's why I'm very much like, just get into action. I don't even care if it's the right action, right? Getting into action and moving on will create energy. And so a lot of times, if you are struggling, maybe go find people to help, because that helps me so many times to get out of a rut or to get out of a funk, or to get out of, if I'm challenged with my own challenges, right? It's like, okay, let me go find people to serve and get into business with and to lift up. And along the way, right, I look back and go like, that was ridiculous. I can't believe I was, beating myself up so bad. So
absolutely.
Okay, so we talk about failure. I love to ask, right? Think about 100 years from now, right? When you're at the end of this journey and you're looking back, what might you regret? What are you concerned that you might be missing now, that you might look back on in the future and kind of go like, man, I wish I would have done this different?
Ooh, regret. Unerasable regret, right? That'll follow you along forever. I would say that my biggest regret would be that, I didn't pour into each of our people the best that I could. And just to be clear, that doesn't mean that I am better than anybody else in terms of being a coach or helping people lead them to their goals. I think my biggest regret would be that I didn't control what I can control and put out there everything that I could put out there to help these people that have entrusted me to do so. That would be my biggest regret.
Yeah, so the way to wire around that now would be to back up and your ability to
David's
help
fixing
else,
things. You guys see what's going on?
Yeah. Your ability to do that at the highest level is going to be your personal growth, right? How much are you growing personally? Because as you grow, those around you will grow. And so is it who's coaching you? What seminars are you going to? What podcasts are you reading? What books? What are you putting into here that is helping you become a better version of you? Because you have this ability to lead others. The reason people love you so much isn't because of what you do in their business. It's because they know genuinely you care about them, right?
Yeah.
And you have their best interest at heart. And that's something that I'd say the two of us, Bethany and I, can sometimes lack, right? Is that compassion piece to like truly lean in. Not that we don't care, but we don't show it as well as you do. We don't structure it in a way that makes them feel safe.
Yeah, right. And it's different, guys. It's the way that we interact. I meet with these people, 4 times a month, every month.
Yeah,
like it's a lot, and it's one of those things where if they don't succeed, I don't succeed. There is no other way. So it's not only them champion us with their goals, but then it's our responsibility to help them fulfill them. So again, we take it seriously. And yes, I think the company, Bethany, you and Joseph have done a great job of bringing in new talent, and I got to rise to the occasion, right? So I got to grow.
I heard something recently, and someone mentioned that because we're in sales organizations and businesses that we grow, and yet results are the language of impact. And I thought that was really powerful, because the reality is it's how you're showing up and playing all in with people that ends up showing up in their businesses and their lives. And then ultimately it's the impact that you have. And I know you take that seriously, right?
Sure.
So love that. I love that, thinking of it like that, because sometimes I think we get lost in the numbers of just sales and rankings and where are we showing up. The reality is all that actually is impact in people's lives that we get to be a part of.
Yeah, those are the lack measures of the relationship.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, brother, I appreciate you spending some time with us today. It's always fun when the three of us can just sit back and chat and kick it.
Super grateful for you guys having me. Thank you.
Yeah,
you.
man.
Thanks for
Here's
being
another 10 years, right? Bethany's aiming for the top spot.
That's right.
So watch out, folks.
Go
We're
there,
coming for
Bethany.
you.
Right.
Let's get it.
do it. Thanks, guys.